Hello everyone, I am Troy. This is my first real video of 2013, and that was an excerpt of the brilliant Angela Aki's Tegami, played through an iPad 4 using my digital piano over here as a MIDI keyboard. I'm also wearing headphones. Yeah, there's a good reason for that, but yeah. Anyway, a word of warning, this video is going to be really thorough and I'll probably end up spouting more terminology than you could fit in a Dyson sphere, so just saying. Today we're going to be taking a look at an iOS application which I came across recently called iGrand Piano. It's an app which gives you access to up to 4 sampled piano libraries and 18 differently mastered versions of them. Each variant is listed as a separate piano within the application, so you can get the kind of sound you're looking for more easily. The interface is quite tweakable, and you can use any USB MIDI keyboard you want with it via the iPad's camera connectivity kit. The app costs €18, $24 or 15 British pounds, which might seem expensive compared to other apps on mobile platforms, but given that many admittedly higher quality libraries are available for desktop platforms costing upwards of €200, I consider it quite incredible value. Finally, before we jump into the application itself, here are a few details about it which most people don't know, and which I had to spend forever digging through application files to find out. Firstly, the 4 piano libraries available in this application were sampled from a Yamaha U3 upright, a Kawai GE30 Baby Grand, a Steinway D, and a Yamaha C3. So 2 of my favorite Grands are in there, which I really like. All the libraries have 4 velocity layers, aside from the Kawai, which only has 3. They're stored in uncompressed AIF format, although they weren't recorded chromatically, so you might hear a few pitch-shifted notes here and there, but nothing major I wouldn't think. The Yamaha C3 and the Kawai GE30 libraries can only be accessed if you purchase them in the application. So if you'd like to know exactly which pianos in the app correspond to which actual sample libraries, then I do recommend checking out the description for a complete listing of which ones correspond to which. So let's take a look at the various pianos we get here. In the interest of time, I won't go through absolutely all of the presets because, there are really only 4 of them, but I will cover all 4 originals and some of the noteworthy variants. Well, what I consider noteworthy variants. Anyhow, let's go take a look. We'll begin with Grand Piano 1, which is the Steinway D library. It's the piano which I played the intro piece on, and what you heard was a direct render from the iPad without any post work at all, so you should already have a pretty good idea of what this particular library sounds like, but I'll play something a bit softer in a moment to give you an idea of the kind of dynamics you can get out of it. Grand Piano 1 would probably be my library of choice for something like Supercell or Tsukima Switch, where you'd want a very clean and bold Grand, rather than something intimate or mellow. Anyhow, if you can tell me where the following piece is from, you are awesome. And now on to classical piano. Classical piano is quite a muted and more mellow variant of the Steinway. The notes are very smooth and it's probably geared towards more gentle classical pieces, although I'm actually very interested to play some Tenmon on it and see how well it works. Here's an example. Then we have Soft Upright, which is the Yamaha U3. The U3 Upright really is quite a versatile piano. It can sound extremely vibrant, mellow, or in this case soft, and I think this is easily my favorite rendition of it. The reason being that if you play this library really delicately, you can get wonderful tone and character out of it. Here's a basic by-ear version of Supercell's new single, which I think works really well with this piano. Next up we have the Rock Upright, which is another brilliant variant of the Yamaha U3 and ironically has a richer tone than the Rich Upright. I find this one highly reminiscent of the uprights often heard in lots of classic piano pop music, as well as in Ryo's work. The forte notes have that lovely bite, and it's a really vibrant piano which I hope the next example from the same piece illustrates well. Then is the Grand 2, which is a Yamaha C3. The Yamaha is known for being very clean and dynamic, which is certainly true of this library, but if I had to choose between the Yamaha or the Steinway, personally I would pick the Steinway in most cases. Now that's not to say that one is necessarily better than the other, they're both fantastic pianos and libraries, but I prefer the tone of the Steinway D. And now for a quick demo. Finally, we'll try out the Baby Grand. I should mention that I've never played a Baby Grand before in either library or physical form, so it's difficult for me to really judge the quality of the library, but it all comes down to a matter of subjective taste anyway, so you'll know if you like it at least. And that's all 4 libraries, along with a few variations. One of the things which I really love about this application is the fact that it has practically no input lag, which really makes it fun to play. So finally we're going to take a look at the UI, and in doing so I'll mention any complaints I have about the application. On the default page we have the obvious scrolling piano list and virtual keyboard at the bottom which can be locked in place. Under the menu item we have access to our IK Multimedia account, the store in which you can buy access to other libraries, and settings. Among the options in here, we have the ability to turn on key labels, which would be useful for beginners, and you can see that down there. The input latency can also be adjusted, and the best setting really depends on which generation of iPad you have. Down from that is Auto Sleep, which allows the display to sleep while the app's running and save you some battery life. Then we have background audio, which keeps the app running as a background service, so that you can continue playing while viewing sheet music in your web browser, for example. And finally, you have 2 modes for dock compatibility in case the default setting doesn't work very well for your particular dock. At the very top of the list are controls for the MIDI velocity curve, which you can tailor to your keyboard. You can also tweak the audio output level of the app. And now on to the next window. In here you have a pane at the top containing all of your recorded performances and a few pieces included with the app at the top of the list. Below that are 2 rows of controls. From right to left, you have the ability to quantize your recordings, enable the metronome while recording, play the recording selected above, begin recording, dub one recording over another, and adjust the tempo of playback. On the last row are various file management options, among them the ability to export your recording to WAV format via iTunes file sharing, email, or copy and paste functions. You can also delete the file selected in the top pane, save a recording you've just made to it, or create a new file. The very last option in that row allows you to see the entire virtual keyboard, which I have yet to find a use for. So now on to the next window. In here are all of your metronome controls. You can adjust the volume, mute the metronome sound, start or stop it, and adjust the tempo. The very last window down here contains settings which you can use to tweak the sound of your libraries. The top half of the window is taken up by a big interactive piano graphic, which also changes the lid setting below when you drag it. In the panel below, you can adjust the release tail length of your samples, detune the piano, transpose notes up or down, adjust the brightness of the piano, which controls the highs, open or close the lid, which is reflected in the graphic above, adjust the reverb and the output volume of the piano. Be careful with that last one, as you can end up with clipping if you set it too high. And that's just about everything. There really isn't much I could ask from this application which it doesn't already do, but the inclusion of an equalizer in there somewhere would be great, and the ability to export in MIDI format would be even better. Overall, for €18, I think you'd have a hard time finding an app which does as much, let alone more, so I'm kind of perplexed as to its apparent lack of popularity. Anyway, this has been one thorough app review, and I hope I have answered just about every question you could possibly have about it. So until next time, live long and prosper, and El Sai Congru.